The October full moon hung suspended in the night sky, illuminating the peaceful town of Maplewood, nestled at the edge of Glacier National Park. Silver beams filtered through the windows of the Peterson family home on Pine Street, number 27, where Cole, the most adorable black kitten in town, was curled up in a hand-woven basket. Cole was born in the Petersons' garage 2 months earlier, the only survivor of a litter of 4. The mother cat, Astray, with leek black fur, had disappeared after giving birth, leaving Cole in the care of the Peterson family. Molly, a 10-year-old redhead, had devoted all her love to Cole, caring for him every day and forming a special bond. Tonight, while the rest of the family slept, Molly remained awake, eyes wide open, watching Cole lately. She'd felt something wasn't right. Cole had become restless after nightfall, especially under the full moon. He often stood on the windowsill gazing toward the forest with a strange longing that Molly had never seen before. Tonight, as the moonlight shone brightest, Cole suddenly sprang up, ears straight, in an alert posture. Molly pretended to sleep, watching through the half-closed eyes. The kitten moved to the partially open window and made a strange sound. Not the usual meowing, but more like a caller signal. Seconds later, a large dark shape appeared on the windowsill. Molly nearly cried out when she recognized a full-grown bobcat. In the moonlight, she could clearly see its identifying features: large head, black-tipped ears, and the characteristic spotted coat. The strange thing was that Cole showed no fear. On the contrary, the kitten seemed to be welcoming the intruder. The bobcat observed Cole with an inquiring gaze, then gently picked him up by the scruff and vanished into the darkness. Molly almost screamed. Jumping up to run to the window, she caught a glimpse of the bobcat running toward the forest, Cole still safely in its mouth. Molly's heart pounded in panic. Cole had been kidnapped. She thought about waking the whole house, but hesitated. Who would believe? A story about a bobcat taking a house cat. And if they did believe, would they find Cole in time before it was too late that night? Molly tossed and turned, worried about Cole's fate. She imagined all sorts of horrifying scenarios, from Cole becoming dinner for the Bobcat family to him being lost and alone in the vast forest. The next morning, Molly told her parents about Cole's disappearance. They helped her search the house, calling Cole's name repeatedly, but there was no sign of the kitten, Sarah, Molly's mother, consoled her that house cats often wandered off and would return. When hungry, Tom, Molly's father, suggested printing missing pet posters to place around the neighborhood. No one considered the possibility that Cole had been taken by a bobcat a week past. With no news of Cole, Molly went to school sadly. Her mind always on her little kitten. She began leaving cat food and Cole's favorite toys on the porch, hoping he would smell them and find his way home. But each morning, the food dish remained untouched, with only a few ants exploring it. On the 10th night, as Molly lay on her bed looking at a photo of Cole taken on her recent birthday, she heard a light scratching at the window. Heart racing, she rushed over and through the window, open a jet black kitten. Jumped into the room. "Cole!" Molly exclaimed joyfully, hugging the kitten. But her joy lasted only a few seconds before she realized something was wrong. This kitten looked remarkably like Cole. Same jet black fur, small white spot on the chest, same size. But the eyes were different. Cole's eyes had always been gentle and friendly, while this kitten's eyes conveyed wildness, weariness, and something dangerous. Molly stepped back, observing. More carefully, the new kitten moved differently than Cole each step. Cautious and powerful, lacking the soft, endearing clumsiness of little Cole. When Molly touched its head instead of nuzzling her hand, as Cole always did, this kitten's stiffened ears perked up in alertness. A bold thought flashed through Molly's mind. This wasn't Cole. This was a bobcat kitten, nearly identical to Cole in appearance, but completely different in nature. Meanwhile, deep in the ancient forest, Cole was experiencing the strangest adventure of his life. He awoke in a warm, rocked den surrounded by 3 other kittens, all baby bobcats. The odd thing was that one of them, the one the mother bobcat had just brought to the Peterson house, was almost a perfect copy of Cole from size to fur color, and so the strange exchange had begun a natural experiment that would forever change the lives of 2 families, one belonging to humans and one to the wild world. The first day with the new kitten, whom Molly secretly named Shadow, was filled with astonishing discoveries. The Peterson family didn't notice the difference. Although Sarah commented that Cole seemed to have matured after a week of absence, Tom thought the kitten looked healthier. Perhaps having learned to hunt during his time away from home, only Molly knew the truth. Shadow was no ordinary house cat. He refused to eat the canned cat food that the Petersons had always fed Cole. Instead, when no one was looking, Shadow sneaked into the kitchen, jumped onto the counter with remarkable agility, and attacked the raw meat that was thawing. Shadow's behavior, increasingly, revealed his wild nature. He often climbed to high positions in the house, the top of the bookcase there, refrigerator, even the ceiling beams, and observed everything from above with a predatory gaze. Fast-moving objects like rolling balls or toy mice were no longer playthings but prey in intense hunting games. At night, Shadow often stood by the window, looking toward the forest with obvious longing. On moonlit nights, he even tried to climb. Outside, stopped by Molly at the last minute. The girl wasn't sure if Shadow truly wanted to return to the forest or was just responding to the instinctive call of wild cats. One evening, while the family was watching TV, Shadow suddenly sprang from behind the sofa, attacking a moth that had flown into the house through an open window. The speed and precision of the pounce astonished the Peterson family. Cole had never demonstrated such impressive hunting skills. "Good Lord, Cole has improved so much," Tom exclaimed admiringly. "That week away from home turned our little guy into a real hunter." Sarah nodded in agreement, but with worried eyes. "I don't know what happened to Cole during that week, but he's changed so much." Molly remained silent, wondering if she should share her suspicions, but who would believe a story about a wild cat impersonating a house cat? They would think she'd been reading too many fairy tales. Meanwhile, deep in the dense forest, Cole was facing the greatest challenges of his life. Having grown up in a warm home with regular meals and boundless love for Molly, he was completely unprepared for the harsh realities of wildlife. The first hunting lesson was nearly disastrous. The mother bobcat led her litter, including Cole, deep into the forest. When they spotted a field mouse, the 3 bobcat kittens immediately displayed their hunting instincts, hiding, stalking, and pouncing on the prey with amazing accuracy. Cole, on the contrary, just stood frozen, too frightened and confused to act. When the mother bobcat pushed a dead mouse towards Cole, I only stared at it with disgust. Only when hunger became unbearable did Cole reluctantly eat the raw meat, its strong taste nearly making him sick. The mother bobcat observed her strange child with puzzled but patient eyes. She seemed to understand that Cole needed time to adapt. Each day she taught Cole basic survival skills: how to hide, how to climb to avoid enemies, and most importantly, how to hunt. The 3 other bobcat kittens initially showed contempt for Cole's clumsiness, but gradually accepted him as part of the litter. They even helped Cole during hunting practice, leaving slightly injured prey for Cole to catch easily. The first night in the rock den was a terrifying challenge for Cole. No warm cat basket, no Molly to cuddle with, no soft nightlight, only darkness, strange forest night sounds, and the heavy breathing of other predators. Cole curled up trembling in the corner of the den, longing to return to his familiar home. But when the mother bobcat embraced Cole, licking his fur with surprising gentleness, Cole began to feel comforted. Perhaps this place wasn't so bad. Perhaps he could survive this first night. And indeed, with each passing day, Cole gradually adapted to his new life. He learned to move more quietly on the forest floor, to detect unfamiliar sounds and scents, and even began developing an instinct he didn't know he possessed, the instinct of a predator. Nevertheless, each night before sleeping, Cole still remembered Molly and the warm house on Pine Street. Was the girl looking for him? Had she recognized the imposter in her home? And would he ever return to the place where he truly belonged? 2 weeks had passed since Cole returned, and Molly grew increasingly certain of her suspicions. Shadow differed from Cole not only in behavior, but also in subtle physical characteristics that only someone as close to Cole as Molly would notice: longer and sharper claws, more developed canine teeth, and particularly a small scar behind his right ear that Cole never had. Once, while brushing Shadow's fur, Molly discovered faint spots on his back, a characteristic feature of young bobcats which usually fade as they mature but remain visible upon close inspection. Pure black Cole never had such markings. Molly decided to learn more about bobcats. She spent an entire afternoon in the school library devouring books about local wildlife. What she discovered further confirmed her suspicions. Bobcats sometimes give birth to completely black offspring due to a rare genetic mutation, and these can easily be mistaken for ordinary house cats. Another piece of information caught. Molly's attention female bobcats are highly protective of their young, but occasionally they might adopt abandoned kittens if they resemble their own offspring. Could the mother bobcat have taken Cole because he looked just like her child that evening? Molly conducted a small experiment. She took a piece of raw beef from the refrigerator and placed it next to the regular cat food bowl. Shadow didn't hesitate, going straight for the raw meat completely, ignoring the prepared food. Cole had never shown any interest in raw meat before. "What is Cole doing?" Sarah asked, catching the scene from the kitchen doorway. "I think he's trying new food," Molly said, trying to sound normal. "How strange, Cole never ate a raw meat before." Sarah shook her head, surprised. That week away from home really changed him. Molly just nodded, silently, not wanting to share the truth. She was becoming increasingly certain of Cole had never returned. The cat living in their house was a baby bobcat. The biggest question remained: where was their all? Cole, was he still living in the forest with the bobcat family? And was there any way to bring him home safely? Deep in the forest, Cole had undergone an amazing transformation. 3 weeks living with the bobcat family had awakened primitive instincts he didn't know he possessed. Cole could now hunt small prey on his own, move almost silently through the forest, and even understand the language of wildcats. Slight nods, specific tail movements, and low growls carrying warning messages. Nevertheless, Cole wasn't completely wild. He still remembered Molly, the safety and comfort of the human home. Whenever possible, Cole would climb tall tree branches, gazing toward the distant town with longing. Part of him still wanted to return, but another part was drawn to the freedom and daily new discoveries in the forest. The mother bobcat also noticed this difference. Although Cole had made remarkable progress, he could never fully be part of the wild world. Sometimes the mother would catch Cole playing alone with small objects like leaves or pebbles, behavior more typical of house cats than wild ones. At such times she would observe Cole with a thoughtful gaze, as if considering something important. One night, when the full moon again appeared in the sky, the mother bobcat suddenly woke. Cole, the sleepy kitten, followed her out of the den, leaving behind the 3 siblings still sound asleep. The mother led Cole deep into the forest, then abruptly stopped in a clearing. Here Cole was surprised to discover they weren't alone. 3 other adult bobcats were waiting, a large male, probably the leader, and 2 smaller females. They seemed to be meeting for some important event. Cole felt afraid, but the mother remained beside him, reassuring him with her protective presence. The leader approached, sniffing Cole from head to toe, his sharp eyes evaluating this strange kitten. After a long moment, he growled softly and nodded to the mother as if making a final decision on a matter previously discussed. Cole couldn't understand what was happening, but instinct told him this was an important moment, and his fate had somehow been determined. The mother licked Cole's head affectionately, then turned to look toward the distant town. Assolant message was transmitted, and Cole felt his heart beating faster. With a new feeling hope to prove her suspicions and plan Cole's rescue, Molly decided she needed to learn more about bobcats in the area. She contacted Dr. Elena Martinez, a biologist studying wildlife at Glacier National Park, who occasionally visited Molly's school as a guest speaker. In her mail to Dr. Martinez, Molly carefully described her observations of the new Cole, avoiding mentioning the bobcat-kitten exchange theory, but asking about the possibility of a house cat developing wild behavior after living in nature for a while. She also inquired about known bobcat families in the area near Pine Street. 2 days later, Molly received an unexpected response. Dr. Martinez not only answered the question, but also suggested meeting in person to discuss this special case. According to the email, her research team was tracking a female bobcat with cubs at the eastern edge of Maplewood, exactly the area near Molly's house. Notably, one of the kittens was completely black, a rare mutation. Molly couldn't believe her luck. So next day, she asked her parents' permission to visit Dr. Martinez's field office, citing a science project. Tom agreed to drive her to the research station located at the edge of the national park. Dr. Martinez was a middle-aged woman with short black hair, streaked with silver, and wise eyes behind square-framed glasses. She listened attentively as Molly detailed her observations from Cole's disappearance to the appearance of a cat that looked identical but behaved completely differently. "What you're describing is remarkable," Dr. Martinez said after Molly finished her story. "My research team is tracking a very special bobcat family. The mother has 4 cubs and one of them is jet black, extremely rare in the wild." She pulled a set of trail camera images from a drawer. Molly held her breath as she looked at the photos. A mother bobcat with 4 cubs, 3 with the species characteristics, spotted coat, and 1 pure black-looking, almost identical to Cole. "This was taken 2 weeks ago," Dr. Martinez explained. "But there's something even more interesting. In recent images we discovered something unusual. This family has an additional member." She moved to the latest photo. Molly nearly cried out. It was Cole. The little cat was following the bobcat family, appearing quite integrated despite obvious differences in movement. "I believe this cat is a lost house cat," Dr. Martinez said, "but according to her observations, the mother bobcat is caring for it as her own. This phenomenon is extremely rare in nature." "That's my Cole," Molly said emotionally, "so he's still alive. But what about Shadow the cat in our house now? If your hypothesis is correct, then the mother bobcat may have exchanged one of her cubs with you. Your Cole." The question is why, Dr. Martinez pondered thoughtfully, then explained. "It could be a protective instinct. Black bobcats might face difficulties in the wild because they lack effective camouflage. Meanwhile, an environment like your home would be much safer for it. So the mother deliberately exchanged them to protect a cub?" Molly asked, eyes wide with amazement. "It's just a hypothesis, but not impossible. Animals often have protective behaviors toward their offspring that exceed our understanding." Molly felt both amazed and moved. Shadow wasn't an intruder or kidnapper. He was just a child placed in a new environment by a mother trying to protect him. "But what should we do now?" Molly asked. "Cole belongs with my family, and Shadow needs to return to his mother." "This is a complex situation," Dr. Martinez admitted. "Bobcats are protected wild animals, and interfering with them could violate conservation regulations. On the other hand, we need to bring Cole home." After discussion, they arrived at a bold but feasible plan: place a humane trap near Molly's house with Cole as bait to track the mother bobcat. When both appeared, they would create an opportunity for the reverse exchange, Tucker returning Cole to Molly and Shadow to his real mother. "We must be careful." Dr. Martinez emphasized this isn't about capturing wild animals. That would be illegal. We're just creating conditions for the right thing to happen in the most natural way possible. With a heart full of hope and a plan in hand, Molly returned home. Now she had to explain to her parents what was happening while preparing for the eventful night ahead. The night Cole might return, Part 5 reunion under the moonlight. Convincing her parents wasn't as easy as Molly had thought. Tom and Sarah Peterson were, initially, skeptical about the Bobcat-Kitten exchange story, but when Dr. Martinez personally visited their home with trail camera photos and explained the strange behavior documented in wildcats, they began to consider this possibility. "I can't say with 100% certainty, but all signs match," Dr. Martinez concluded. "And if we're right, we have a chance to put everything back in its proper place." The final thing that convinced Molly's parents was when Dr. Martinez offered to examine Shadow. With the family's permission, she took detailed measurements, photographs and fur samples from the kitten. Although Shadow was extremely uncooperative and nearly scratched her hand, the initial observations confirmed the hypothesis. This was not a purebred house cat. The claw structure, canine teeth, and even the way he reacts to humans all align with characteristics of young bobcats, she concluded. When seeing the photos of Cole in the forest, Sarah couldn't hold back tears. "Poor little Cole. We have to bring him home." The plan was implemented on the next full moon, the time when the mother bobcat had performed the first exchange. Dr. Martinez and 2 assistants placed a special cage in the Petersons' backyard, designed with 2 separate compartments, each with its own door connected to asmart mechanism. When Shadow enters one side of the cage and Cole enters the other, the doors will close, keeping both safe but not causing harm, Dr. Martinez explained. Then we can release each one to the right family. Molly was assigned the most important task: placing Shadow in the cage at the right moment, Cole, if he truly appeared, with the mother bobcat would be attracted by the family scent and favorite toys placed in the other compartment of the cage that night. As the full moon hung in the sky, Molly sat in her room with shadow heart full of anticipation. The bobcat kitten seemed to sense something was about to happen, pacing restlessly and constantly looking out the window just as the clock struck 7 p.m. A soft sound came from the backyard. Molly looked out the window and her heart nearly stopped. The mother bobcat had appeared, and Cole was following her. The little cat looked thinner than before, but walked more confidently and appeared healthy. Cole paused, at the edge of the gardens, sniffing the air cautiously. Having been away from home for so long, he seemed both familiar with and wary of his old environment. "That's Cole," Molly whispered, holding Shadow tight. "It's time." With her father's help, Molly placed Shadow in one side of the special cage in the garden. The bobcat kitten resisted, but eventually went in when smelling the fresh meat placed inside as bait. Meanwhile, Dr. Martinez and her assistants hid in the shadows. Ready to intervene if any dangerous situation arose, everyone held their breath waiting. The mother bobcat moved cautiously around the garden, alert to human smells, and strange devices. Cole followed behind, getting closer and closer to the house that was once his home. When Cole approached the cage and discovered his favorite stuffed mouse toy along with his familiar small pillow, the kitten couldn't contain his excitement, forgetting all caution. Cole rushed into the other compartment of the cage, the automatic. Door snapped shut with a soft click. The two cats now faced each other. Through the mesh divider, Cole and Shadow, two small creatures caught up in a strange adventure. Neither wanted. Shadow growled softly. Cole meowed back, two languages from two different worlds. The mother bobcat reacted immediately. When her cub was trapped, she roared threateningly, preparing to attack the cage. This was the most dangerous moment of the plan. "Open the cage doors now," Dr. Martinez signaled through the walkie-talkie. Tom Peterson, from a safe position inside the house, pressed their remote control. Both cage doors opened simultaneously. Shadow immediately darted out, running straight to his mother. Coley also escaped. But instead of running to Molly, standing not far away, the little cat stood hesitantly between two worlds. "Cole," Molly called softly, her voice trembling with emotion. "Come home." Cole looked toward the girl, then turned back to look at the mother bobcat, tenderly licking Shadow's fur. For a moment that seemed endless, the little cat appeared unable to decide. The mother bobcat suddenly looked directly at Cole, then at Molly. A silent message seemed to pass between them. The mother growled softly, and somehow Cole understood. The kitten looked toward the forest one last time, then ran straight to Molly. "Cole!" Molly exclaimed, hugging the kitten to her chest. Happy tears flowed as she felt the familiar warmth of her little friend. From the edge of the garden, the mother bobcat and Shadow watched this scene for a moment, then slowly disappeared into the darkness of the forest, returning to where they truly belonged. "Unbelievable," Sarah said, holding her husband's shoulder as they observed from the porch. "Molly was right all along." "A perfect exchange." Dr. Martinez nodded, her face full of amazement and admiration. "I've never witnessed anything like this in my entire career." The following weeks were full of pleasant surprises. Cole returned home with many changes from his time in the forest. He was stronger and quicker, occasionally demonstrating amazing hunting skills in the garden. But the gentle, friendly nature of a house cat remained unchanged. Cole still liked to curl up on Molly's lap, still meowed for food at the right time, and remained loyal to the Peterson family, as if they'd never been separated. Dr. Martinez occasionally visited to check Cole's health and document his remarkable adaptation. She also shared good news. Trail cameras in the forest had captured images of the mother bobcat and her litter, including Shadow. Living healthily, Shadow seemed to have fully integrated into wildlife, even showing superior hunting abilities compared to his siblings. "This is one of those rare cases where both sides benefit," she explained to the Peterson family. Cole learned valuable survival skills, while Shadow found his true family. The story of the strange exchange gradually spread in the scientific community. Dr. Martinez wrote a scientific paper about this phenomenon, though keeping the Peterson family's real identity confidential. Molly was invited to school to share the story during biology class, inspiring many students about the wonders of the natural world. Sometimes on full moon nights, Cole still stood by the window, looking toward the forest with a distant gaze. And sometimes Molly thought she glimpsed a small black shadow at the edge of the garden. Shadow visiting, or just the girl's imagination. Either way, the strange exchange had left an indelible mark on everyone's hearts. It reminded them that the boundary between the human world and the wild world isn't as distant as we think. And sometimes the instinct of maternal love can overcome all barriers, even between species. Whenever retelling the story, Molly always ended with the words, "There are secrets that can only be revealed under the moonlight, and there are connections that cannot be explained by science." That's the wonder of nature.